First comment I'd like to make is I live at the intersection of La Crosse and Main Street in Fallsington. A lot of school traffic now, obviously starting up. Nobody's paying attention to the stop signs there. People are coming into them 30 miles an hour, hanging a left turn up La Crosse, flooring it all the way up La Crosse till they get to the school, parking on people's yards or blocking driveways. I didn't know if someone could look into this. I've talked to the police in the past, but they're not staffed enough to leave a police officer there to just wait for someone to run the stop sign. But the interesting thing is if I stand out by the stop sign, probably some of you have seen me out there, people stop. But if no one's out there standing there, they all run the stop sign. And some people go through it 40, 50 miles an hour. So, and it is a bus stop. So that's just the secondary problem with that is these people are they're dropping their kids off to school, but could possibly run down some kids waiting for the bus. So, and it happens from, let's say 7 till whenever the school stops. I don't know what time the school stops receiving children, but it seems to stop around 8:30, somewhere around there. But it's just like inundated, rush to get in there. And, I don't know if they're running late or if they're running late for work, but they just pay no attention to anything around. And there's a lot of kids crossing the road, animals, people, as you know, walk through Fallsington a lot of foot traffic and bike traffic. So something I would like someone to look into. And it's been happening now for 5 years, and it hasn't stopped. So the second point I wanted to make is about a month ago, you were hiring looking for an HVAC contractor. Me and my friend let my neighbor know that, hey, because he was an out-of-work HVAC contractor, 35 plus years experience, came, did the interview. They said the job's paying $26 an hour. He was probably making that in 1985. So obviously he waited. He said, I'd like the job, but I need more money. And the perception I got and some of the answers I got was the rules are set by the union at $26 an hour. Now, I've never heard a union complain about paying someone more than what you're starting the job at. And the key is to find qualified people that could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you offer $10 more an hour for that position, that person who I'm speaking of has worked in school districts before, familiar with the systems, can do anything. And the people you might have some might be qualified, some may not be as qualified, but if you have to call in subcontractors to do the work that they don't understand or that may come up, that $20,000 in payroll savings goes out the window pretty quick, because I'm sure you're familiar with paying contractors. I'm a contractor myself, but not an HVAC contractor. But that savings that you're trying to save in the beginning could easily be saved with the knowledge of someone with 35 to 40 years experience that could diagnose and fix things cheaper because he knows what he's looking at. And just something, food for thought. You're not always saving money by offering someone less of a wage. Some people are worth substantially more than what you're offering. And the last comment I was going to make, because I heard about talking about the HVAC at the new school that's being put in. Are your HVAC people being brought up to speed on the new equipment that's going to be put in? And do you have qualified personnel to work on the new equipment? And do you know what that equipment will be? That's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dell.
Thank you. First thing I wanted to ask, and I sort of like a response now, is when did this public comment not able to get a response immediately? Why do we have to wait? What year did this start? I mean, this is a normal township meeting or anything like that. You have a comment, you get a response from the person you're directing the comment to, instead of sitting here and listing all the gripes or proposals or whatever it might happen to be. Why can't you guys immediately respond to the comments that are being stated at the time? Can you break your own rules for 1 second and explain to me when this happened?
Well, I can tell you my view, at least since the time I've been on the board, it has always been that way. So we just hear people out in public comment, and at the end of it, like I'm taking notes and others are taking notes. If we're able to address anything, we do, or we direct the administration to. If we can't, we will get back to you.
I just wanted to interject that this is a standard procedure in general for school boards. Certainly in my experience, and several other school districts handle it the same way. So you referenced municipal meetings, but I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. And so when you answer these questions after how much time goes by, is the person who made the comment allowed to come back up and respond, or are they not allowed to do that?
No, we typically don't do that.
Okay.
So we just,
All right.
At the end of everything, we may respond, because sometimes the response may be just simply to you versus for the whole community.
Okay. I heard today about the $49,000 for 4 cameras from Mr. Sanderson. Sounds like an exorbitant amount of money. Didn't know if these are some sort of special cameras or standard cameras, because I mean, I got 4 cameras on my house, less than $1,000. They get recorded to a DVR, and to tie into the traffic issue I have in my house, I even caught very next week someone driving through that is a faculty member here or a staff member here. I'm not going to out them or embarrass them, but my cameras are good enough to catch vehicles, license plates, and whatnot, and I spent less than $1,000 on 4 cameras that you could remote via the internet, or you can, they record to a hard drive, and it'll rewrite over itself after 30 days if you don't want to pull something off of it. But I didn't know if you guys put that out to bid, or if it's an existing camera setup that you have in the school that just ties in. But $12,000 a camera basically sounds like a lot of money for the cameras. And the other point I wanted to make is, I heard someone say you're busing, Dr. Smith said you're busing people to New Jersey. Is this correct? Private schools? How does Penn, I'm sort of new to that. Why are we busing kids to private schools?
Why don't you finish up your comment, and I'm taking out to address
Well, I mean, because, I'm a Pennsbury graduate. Everyone I know that went to Pennsbury has generally done exceedingly well, as long as they wanted to do exceedingly well. You get out of it what you put into it. And if people have an option just to stay, you're giving them an education, they're paying their taxes for an education. If they opt to go to a private school, to me, it's on them to get to the private school. We should not be busing kids to private school. To me, it might even help with your issue you're having currently with getting the kids that want to go to Pennsbury High School here on time. So that's all I have for now. And one more thing is there still a waiting list to get into the tech school? Like, do you guys still pull a lottery to get kids into tech school? Is there something you guys can do to expand that? Because I'm living proof that not everybody's going to move on and go to college. Never wanted to go to college, never had a thought in my head. My parents pressed me to take all college-oriented courses through school just to give me that choice at the end if I wanted to continue to college. But I knew I wasn't going to college. But I know a couple of people who've tried to get in that tech school program, and they weren't able to. And that shouldn't be, because they know they don't want to go to college. They want to learn a trade, and it would help them dramatically if they could get started now, as opposed to by the time they graduate and they don't have any opportunity to get into the tech school. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dell Falls Township. What happened to the 10 unlucky students that didn't get into the tech school? Did they just get folded back into the regular schooling? That's one of my questions. Have we ever thought, when I went to Pennsbury, they didn't teach academics at the tech school. They just had the tech school, and you did the academics at the actual school itself. You'd go 2 weeks to tech school, 2 weeks to academics. I think that would make a lot more room, even if we did it with some of the students, it would make a lot more room in that tech school so everybody can have an opportunity to go to the tech school. Because, these guys are going to miss a year or miss 2 years, then they're just not going to end up going to it. And it's going to be a waste of time. Even if there's one student missing as opposed to 10, it's still not a good thing. Secondly, I keep hearing diversity, equity, equality. It gets confusing after a while. I'm just trying to figure out, like, for instance, this board, mostly all Democrat, I would imagine. I don't see a Republican up here. If I'm missing a Republican, someone raise their hand. Anyone Republican up here? So our board's not diverse. Might be diverse with women, people of color, or whatsoever, but I think there should be at least 2 or 3 Republicans, and if it's all Republican, there should be at least 2 or 3 Democrats. There shouldn't just be all Democrats or all Republicans. And I know it's the people who vote, but you guys don't necessarily represent me. And I just feel that having an all-Democrat board, you guys will have an idea, and it's going to get passed no matter what. Nothing's going to be brought to light. I know this because I ran for township supervisor, didn't make it, almost made it, but didn't quite make it because it's a heavily Democrat township, which is understandable, but we still need representation on the school board. The equity issue, I'm trying to figure out what we're actually doing with this. Dr. Gibson, what is our end goal here? Are the kids that are doing well, are they being hamstringed or held back in any manner by trying to pick up the students that just aren't able to hack it or make it in a normal classroom environment? Or there's separate classes for the kids that are struggling. I think I brought this up last time. Are there, after school mentoring or things that could help these kids along that are having struggles? But I truly don't understand. You said there's no CRT program here, but I want to know what you guys are calling it because it's something. There's something here. Every meeting, I hear the word equity 20, 30 times, and I just want to know what you guys mean by equity and fully explain that to me because I've gotten sort of mixed signals on what equity actually is. I met with Dr. Smith. I appreciate the time he took with me. We mostly talked about the tech school. I just want to thank him for his time. And the one last question I have is, are there videos that you insist your employees watch, diversity videos? And if there are, I want to know what the name titles of these videos are. I'd like to see them. I would like to know when these videos started. Have they been around for 10 years, 2 years, since Mrs. Gibson got here? I want to know what the point of these videos are and who has to watch them, and are you penalized if you do not want to watch them? That's all I have for now. Thank you very much.
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. Before I forget, Mr. Sanderson, I saw on your slide a good global citizen. What is that? Is there something wrong with being a good American? I was just curious about the wording on that slideshow. But what I want to get to is this DEI program, which is CRT with a different name. I want to thank Dr. Smith and Chip Taylor for getting back to me and answering the questions that they could. Many attempts to Mrs. Gibson, no results. I've left phone messages, emails, no attempt to get back to me and discuss this disproportionality in achieving equity. I had to go out and buy the workbook by Dr. Fergus, which pained me beyond belief, trust me. But I've read over it twice, and it basically reads like a neo-Marxist framework for tribalism ideology in this school. Now, individuals are responsible for their actions, not groups of individuals. So you had a slideshow the other day about DEI, and it showed Alexander Den Heiger, however you pronounce his name, nothing you don't already know. I had to buy that book too. Very painful. Your analogy about watering the flowers, and if the flower's not growing, you got to change the environment. But when 98% of the flowers are growing, it's not the environment. Okay? You're talking to a landscaper. If seeds don't grow, it's not always the environment. But if 98% of our students are doing just fine, there's 2% that need help. Well, then help that 2%. And I don't want to know what color they are. I don't care what color they are. Just help the kids that are struggling. Stop dividing everybody into a race and a category and this disproportionality. there is never going to be an end game to this. It's never going to be good enough. In this book that I recommend people buy, it's in her slideshow, you have to read this stuff. I mean, you won't believe what's in this book. My white fragility, my unconscious bias, whatever the hell that is, and it's mind-numbing to read this stuff and knowing that Dr. Fergus is coming here to apparently do her job for her. So I don't know why he's coming here, why we're spending $400,000 on him and his team, but I would like people to understand exactly how the progressive left has hijacked the words diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity used to mean people of a different background were free to join a group or an association. Equity was enforcing equal standards for all individuals and groups. And inclusion was allowing people of every background and identity to participate in any group or association. Now DEI means applying unequal standards to ensure preferential outcomes for individuals and groups based on race, sex, gender, or identity. That doesn't seem like the way to the future here. And like the last speaker said, if they're an individual child or student causing problems and over again, they happen to be of a certain color or ethnicity, does it really matter? Just every individual is responsible for themselves. I don't want these kids broken up into class, and then you have class warfare, tribalism, and victimhood. And all you're really doing is creating victims. And I asked Dr. Smith this, and he didn't have a solid answer for me. I said, but what is the end game to this whole debacle? And I truly don't believe there's ever going to be an end game to this. It's never going to be good enough. There's going to be a racist hiding behind every blade of grass. And I don't think there's ever going to be an end to this program. How much time do I got? 54 seconds. Let me see here. Yeah, the founder of this program, the CRT, which you guys are now calling DEI, Derek Bell, self-proclaimed Marxist. Everyone involved with this in the beginning was with the Frankfurt Institute or University, and all self-proclaimed Marxist. So it's obviously got a Marxist framework to it. It's horrible. My other question is Dr. Gibson still have her own business? I think it was called Teach for Equity. I want to know if she's still engaged in that. But the only winners in this whole group are the people that are being overpaid as diversity experts. And they're the only ones making out and running to the bank with our tax dollars. And I don't see any progress being made here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Our next speaker is Donna Abresia.
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. I'd like to start with the, heard a lot of COVID excuses today. When you go back in time, everyone, I got into a lot of arguments with people online, and I said it was a nasty flu, and most younger people or healthy people it's not going to affect. And I got my chops busted relentlessly, and come to find out, it's exactly what it was. People died, people that were suffering from other illnesses, but our kids never really were any danger. But school got closed anyway. And you could see it and reflected in the numbers. It's that plus, it wouldn't surprise me if it coincides with the starting of the DEI program, which obviously, I'm here to take apart. Throughout history, the intellectuals, intelligentsia, whoever you want to say, has always come up with an idea or a solution. It started in the early 1910s, 20s, and 30s with eugenics, and then it turned to the government assistance with welfare, affirmative action, minimum wage laws. All these things that were meant to help minorities ended up hurting them worse than anything else you could have possibly done. And here we are, almost 100 years later, and we have the DEI program, CRT, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. I have been ordering books like a madman off of Amazon to get answers since Mrs. Gibson won't give me any answers, so I have to do my own research. Tom's been
helpful. I appreciate your help, Tom, but you can only do what you can do. Mrs. Gibson is our equity director. I guess that's what she does. But I'll give you a list of some of the books that I had to read just to get up to speed with some of this. 4 from Thomas Sowell, Intellectuals and Race, Dismantling America, Discrimination and Disparities, Black Rednecks and White Liberals. John McWhorter's book of Woke Racism, Shelby Steele's book of White Guilt, Race Marxism by James Lindsay, White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. I don't recommend reading that book. You might want to hurt yourself. Critical Race Theory by Richard Delgado and Gene Stefansis. How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Mark Levin, American Marxism. Victor Davis Hanson, A Dying Citizen. Ordinary Men by Christopher Browning. And both of Jordan Peterson's recent books, and then Dr. Fergus's book, which I did read twice. Now, I had to read all these since our last meeting, so I only had a month to do it, so some of the information stuck, some of it actually got lost. It was too much to take in, but as painful as it was to read that stuff, I read it from both sides. I didn't just read books that were gonna help myself, but I tried reading some of these, especially the White Fragility, and the other one by Ibram X. Kendi. Horrible, horrible books. Like, I've never read anything so despicable in my life. And this is what DEI is based off of. These theories that I was born an evil white guy that is trying to keep the colored people down. There's no winning in these books. Like, the only answer, according to Kendi, is future racism against white people. That sums up that book, just to give you an idea. How much time? I got? 1:09 seconds. But sitting back here and looking and trying to figure things out, the colored community was doing substantially better in the 1940s before welfare and the social justice that was imposed by the government. Test scores were going up. Integration. There's in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., New York, Harlem, intersected blacks and whites living together, and then boom, right around World War II, everything started changing, and not for the good, and it's been going downhill since. And if you guys think you're going to invent another program with the basic Marxist structure that DEI has, you're sadly mistaken if you think it's going to help anybody. Separating people out and creating victims and resentment and jealousy is no way to help these kids. Help the kids that need the help, regardless of color. And there are going to be some kids, I'm out of time, but there are going to be some kids.
I'd like to say to Dr. Smith, I've tried to reach you several times. I called your secretary and did a wellness check on you to make sure you weren't missing. I was going to staple some posters up on the telephone poles around town. Had 3 calls, a couple emails. Never got to meet Dr. Fergus. I did meet him by accident, saw him drive by my house and walked up to the school, met him before he got into the school, but never got an opportunity to talk with him. And per our discussion last meeting, you had promised me a conversation with him. And just for Chris Burnick and everybody else on this board, you want to save $5 million real quick. Vote Republican next time you vote for a president. And if you redo those rates based off of when Donald Trump was in office, I'm sure you'd find a substantial savings in the energy, in food, in transportation, electricity, everything. Ms. Gibson, I'm glad to see she's here today and made it through the roving bands of white supremacists that are obviously roving around the country, preventing people of color from making any progress. And Ms. Ricci, in California, they're starting to do away with all the AP programs, honor programs, because of DEI, stating that it's unfair that people of color can't score correctly on these tests, and a lot of colleges now are saying we're not going to look at the SAT scores or the PSAT scores because merit really doesn't matter. It's all feel-good, let's get the diversity going here, because, I want someone carving me open on a table if I have surgery done that was here because, he didn't understand the subject, didn't have any merit, but you know what, I feel good because there's someone of color carving me open. Secondly, I think we should have an advocate on this board to watch over Mrs. Gibson's program that looks after American Indian, white, Black Islanders, and everyone else that isn't on the list that has not made it up to par. I think there should be someone on this board that makes sure that the people that are not on that list are actually getting what they need in this school district. And they're not being there's no shortcomings. You've all promised me that there isn't, but I tend not to believe anymore what I'm being told. One more thing I want to read here is a story that was in a book by John McWhorter. Similar position. Kansas City, same year, 12 new schools were built to replace crummy ones Black students had been mired in for decades. The effort cost $1.4 billion. The new schools included broadcast studios, planetariums, big swimming pools, fencing lessons. Per pupil spending was doubled while class sizes were halved to about 25 students per class. Elementary school students all got their own computers, and there were now 53 counselors for them before where they had none. Fade out, fade in, dropout rates stayed the same, the achievement gap between white and Black students stayed the same, and the schools ended up needing security guards at all the schools to combat the theft and violence at the new schools. So your new school theory, I'm not buying. Throw a coat of paint on the old school and continue on. The amount of money people are spending is insane, and the tax rates are obviously going to have to go up tremendously, which is going to have a bad effect on people that are just barely getting by. With the cost, as we heard from the budget, the cost of fuel, the cost of food, the senior citizens that are on a fixed income aren't going to be able to live in Falls Township anymore. They're not going to be able to afford to live around here. I think you're making a huge mistake looking at a new school, but I also want to know, because I thought Dr. Smith and I had a pretty open communications, and I want to know why you ghosted me for a month and didn't return any calls or emails, and why Dr. Fergus' meeting did not happen. Thank you for your time. Okay, Andrew Dell, Falls Township. Everyone seems to be pushing hard to the hoop for this new building, but I think you guys are going to have buyer's remorse. As nasty as everybody says the buildings is, I have a hard time believing this stuff can't be renovated at a much cheaper cost than buying and establishing a whole new building, which I truly believe will bring us to the brink of bankruptcy. God forbid we have some emergency, we have to fix something, we're not going to have any money left. I think you guys are going to have buyer's remorse. Secondly, I want to get back onto my favorite subject, which is the DEI program, which always makes up new words. So mine are divide, exclude, and indoctrinate. This is nothing but a race grifting program. It's a waste of money. Could be used on actual teaching instead of these ridiculous programs where everything's seen through a lens of color. It's ridiculous. I think it's got to end. And I'm not here to say that I want Mrs. Gibson to go anywhere. She can have the human resources job. I just don't like this program. It's nothing personal against Mrs. Gibson. I don't want it to appear that I have some personal vendetta against her. I just hate the program. And I don't think it should continue on. Another update, Josh, you'll appreciate this. I want to give you a list of 10 more books that I've read. Charter Schools and Their Enemies, Marxification of Education by James Lindsay. First one was by Thomas Sowell. Inside American Education by Thomas Sowell. When Race Trumps Merit by Heather McDonald. Rape of the Mind by Yost Merlot. Wealth, Poverty, and Politics by Thomas Sowell. Stolen Youth by Mandel and Markowitz. The Courage to Be Free by Ron DeSantis, If It Ain't Woke, Don't Fix It, Ben Shapiro, The Myth of White Fragility. Finished all of them except for 3. Still in the midst of finishing 3 of those. But, I'm not getting Tom, thank you for the phone call. You're more than helpful. But I'm just not getting the kind of information that I would expect. And I know you are answering a lot of the questions that I would expect Mrs. Gibson to answer. She doesn't want to answer. I don't, obviously, she's not going to answer me because I've been asking for 6 months. I truly don't understand. I know you say this program is run by, basically by you. She's was hired, though, for diversity, equity, inclusion. And I know you're going to say she was hired also for human resources, but she was originally brought here for this program, which I believe is going to be a total failure once we actually see the true numbers that come out, as long as the numbers aren't played with and are actually true numbers. The fact that I have to read all these books, which I think from the last list to this one, I think is now 26, it encouraged me to read, which is the only good thing that's come out of this whole thing. I'm a voracious reader now. I never was. I haven't read a book since high school. I'm not proud of that, but I hated to read. But now I can't get enough of it because when you actually hear the truth from people, it's a pleasant surprise. And on the last note, and my wife will probably kill me, but I said I'd never run for school board. I think the only true way to get any information up here and make your heads flip upside down is to run for school board and get on this school board and see what is actually going on, because you get half answers, half truths. You don't really know, even at Right to Know, do you really know you're getting all the information, the correct information, what you're looking for? I don't truly believe it's all being given. And I know that Mr. Grimm pulled a Right to Know on the diversity expense, came out to like $1 million. There's more being spent there. It's somewhere. We'll find it eventually. But it's disturbing. This program's got to end. The money can go to better use for our kids and education. But the last 30 seconds here, you got to get back to the school thing. I would love to take a tour of this school to see how hideous and atrocious it apparently is. I'm assuming it's probably not too much different from when I went there. Probably a little dated. Probably needs plumbing, electrical. Even if you spend $100 million on this school, think about the money that you'll spend on this new school, which will have probably about 50 change orders, probably about 50 million more than what you think it's going to be. And as I said last meeting, doesn't matter how much you spend on these facilities, it's not going to change the grades. So as nice it is to have a new school, you could teach these kids in a tent if you had to. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dell.
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. First thing I want to touch base with was last meeting, one of the speakers, Ms. Stasha Rasley, made a comment that I should read the book White Fear with some of the other dozens of books that I've read. And I take exception to that. It's a racist comment because this book is nothing but hating white people and blaming white people for everything. And it wasn't appreciated. This is a woman who sits out in the foyer out here the whole meeting with Mrs. Delwich's husband, Mike Selleck, and sits there and conspires and then comes in here and tries to put down everything that I say and tries to pigeonhole me as a racist, which I'm not. If she would actually sit and listen in these meetings, I am trying to assist the minority students. It may not appear that way, but it is that way. Creating them and making them victims is not a way to raise them up from bad grades or not staying up to par with everybody else. Secondly, Dr. Fergus, he seems to have turned into a vapor. I haven't seen him. I haven't heard of any meetings with him. Haven't heard of any numbers after going over Sharissa Gibson's numbers. I want to see what these numbers are and how we've improved, which I'm sure we haven't. I can almost guarantee these are going to be failing numbers. And I want to know how long this DEI program is going to go on for. If these numbers don't show any improvement, I want to know how long this program is going to continue on for. And this isn't anything against Mrs. Gibson. I have no problem with Mrs. Gibson. I just don't like this program. And I know, Tom, you say you're in charge of this program. You're the one I should be directing my comments to, because Dr. Gibson refuses to answer me. You at least give me partial answers, and you're not telling me everything, obviously, but I want to know, what's the end game here? Where's Dr. Fergus? What's he done with these numbers? Where do we stand? Second thing is this new high school. I know there's been a lot of teachers parading through here for the last 4 meetings to give you the gung-ho rah-rah on this new building, but I want to know what we've spent in the last 5 years maintaining these buildings, investing and reinvesting in the infrastructure of these buildings. I don't know if we spent a dime on these places. If the roof's leaking, you're going to bulldoze the building and put it, instead of just putting a roof on it. I think the bones of these buildings are fine. I think they definitely need some work. But I want to know how much money we've been spending on these facilities, and or lack of money we've been spending on these facilities. Thirdly, emotional health, mental health. You guys are putting so much focus on this. I don't even remember it being an issue when I went to school. It's like a factory creating snowflakes here. You guys, the dogs I'm not upset about, because I'm a dog lover. I get the dogs, and Tom and I got busted chops about the dogs. But if some of these kids need professional help, let them get professional help outside of the school. Your job is to teach these kids. And by looking at the grades on the last slides, I think it was maybe 2 meetings ago, these kids aren't getting the education that they need. If you start focusing on just the education and not the peripherals and how they feel, and did someone upset them today? Was there a microaggression? I'm getting tired of this garbage. Teach these kids, and if they need help, give them help. If they need mental health, that's on their family. Let their families give them mental health. I don't remember my guidance counselor give me mental health evaluations. Let's see. And lastly, I guess about 2 months ago, you had a student that supposedly had a knife. You guys said she doesn't have a knife. I heard she did have a knife, got taken out of here, and apparently was back in school within 2 or 3 days. I want to know if that's true. I know you're not going to admit to the knife thing, but I believe there's a knife involved, but you're not. I want to know, if there's no consequences for these kids' behavior, how is their behavior ever going to change? If they know they can run amok around these schools and there's no consequences for their actions, these actions are never going to change. So I think you guys got to start suspending and getting rid of the kids with serious disciplinary actions, and put an end to this problem. Thank you very much. Andrew Dell, Falls Township. First, I'd like to thank Chris Burnick and Ms. Steffi for getting me the information on the budget, the maintenance spent on the buildings. As I thought, I don't have the documents with me, but I believe it's a few $1 million spent over the last 5 years on east and west. And I know there's something included in there on the stadium, which I wasn't that concerned about the stadium, but if that's what you spent over the last 5 years, it's appalling. There's no wonder these buildings need to be replaced or overhauled dramatically. Second thing is, I brought up last meeting, and this is more directed towards Dr. Smith, is Dr. Fergus. We were supposed to meet, then that got canceled, then we were supposed to have a phone meeting, that got canceled, then you were going to have a public meeting, and that hasn't happened. Just curious, I don't want to call you every week and bother you, I know you're a busy guy, but if you give us some sort of update on when we can have access to Dr. Fergus, that would be nice. And I want to go back to last meeting, sort of a little surprised that we had the NAACP here, which obviously they're here again today, which I don't have a problem with, as long as they understand what's going on. And they say anyone can recommend a book for someone to read, but I was recommended to read a book called White Fear. And if any of you are familiar with that book or the author, or all you have to do is look it up on YouTube and listen to a few sentences of that book. It's an anti-white disparaging against white people book and saying that we're afraid of black people's success, which is the furthest thing from the truth. I'm against your DEI program. Don't think it's been working. I think speakers after me will prove to you with numbers that they're not working, and they're working actually opposite of how you people expected these programs to work, like I've been saying since I've been coming to these meetings. This isn't any action against Dr. Gibson. I haven't said a mean word to her, haven't had a battle with her. She just refuses to talk to me for some unknown reason. I know Mr. Smith has been protecting her, thinking that somehow I'm going to be mean or say something nasty to her, or I've never showed any disrespect to her, and nor would I show any disrespect to her, and I don't want her to get fired. I just don't like this program. I don't care if this is entirely your program, Dr. Smith. I would be busting your chops just as bad. I don't care who's teaching it or who's running it, but you have taken ownership of this program. So that's why I don't bother talking to Charissa anymore, not because I don't like her, just because you said direct all questions to you. And I'm sure you're going to have to answer to some of the numbers that have come out. How long does this have to fail before you guys just put it aside and realize that this is the wrong direction for Pennsbury? You know, telling a child that they're behind because of a skin pigmentation, or they don't stand a chance, or they need a leg up because just the world's unfair, isn't true. Skin pigmentation has nothing to do with intelligence at all. It comes down to how much effort you put into your schoolwork, how much time you spend with it, and how much you care about it. And like I told Dr. Smith before, I was never into schoolwork. Hated school when I was here. Nothing against Pennsbury, I just couldn't stand school. School is not for everybody. But that's why I always go and fight so hard for the tech school openings, because I think some people are better suited for the tech school than they are the academic end. My brother went the academic end, I went the blue collar end. We're both doing fine, okay? There is no right or wrong answer, and not everybody's gonna be an A student, and pigeonholing kids and classifying kids into categories and races, and next it's gonna be religion, and then weight, and then this and then that. Just let it be. Let everybody just, you know.
Andrew Dell, is this thing on? Can you hear me? Andrew Dell, Falls Township. Obviously, I want to hit on the first order of business, which is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. How in the hell did this band teacher make it into this school with the serious, obviously, problems he has? Do you guys have no computer control where you see what's going on when there's something pornographic or something that shouldn't be looked at or viewed or even looked into at school? Isn't there some sort of red flag that will get thrown up there so you can catch stuff like this before it turns into a serious issue? Second question is do you have psychological tests for new hires? Do you have they have to go through any sort of psychological background, any sort of testing, going to a psychologist or whatnot? It's disgusting. I feel sorry for his family. My condolences to his family, because their lives are over. I don't know how you recover from something like that. The acts of one individual destroys the whole family, and I feel bad for kid if he has kids, wife, mother, father. I mean, it's horrifying. I've only saw some of the report on what he's supposedly looking at, and it doesn't look terribly promising for him. Secondly, as I was sitting here, I was looking at your mission statement of critical thinkers for a lifelong success in a global society. I mean, that screams Marxism. If you can't see the Marxism in that statement alone, it's disgusting. You know, you say the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, not Karl Marx, Herbert Marcuse, Friedrich Engels, Paulo Freire. You know, this is America. And the problem is this full left-wing agenda is allowing people like this music teacher to enter in here thinking maybe since all the books they're allowing in schools anymore, this is maybe acceptable behavior. Nobody's really going to say anything to me. You know, the fact that you take God out of schools and the Democrats bring in transgenders, transgender reading, what's the other, drag queen reading hour, okay? Let's get drag queen reading hour in here, and let's take religion, any sort of religion, out of school. Now, I believe your Marxist theories and your theologies are no different than religion. So if you could ban religion from a school, I think we should be able to stop you guys from brainwashing our kids from being the next little Marxist or neo-Marxist coming up in the next generation, because it's a religion, it's a theology, it's a thought process. I don't want global society, I want American society, because we're in America. I don't want to have a global economy, I want America. And we're all Americans, whether we're black, white, Latino, Asian. You guys focus too much on skin color, we're all Americans, and again, should be colorblind. Doesn't matter what color you are. But the problem is also with these scores that you showed on the board. I can tell you why they're going down. It all starts with all these worthless programs you guys are introducing and all this garbage that you're feeding our kids instead of teaching them the basics. These kids are in nesting programs and all this gobbledygook, feel-good crap, and you're not teaching them the basics, and those charts will continue to go down. And I would like to also ask Mrs. Ricci, Dr. Ricci, are there any pornographic type materials in our libraries, in our schools at this point in time? Anything out of the ordinary that shouldn't be there or most parents would find disgusting? I would like to know that, if you could possibly get back to me with that. Also, I would like to get a copy, if I can, of a history book, what you're teaching as far as history in these schools, and if it's modified history or if it's actual history. So that's all I have for tonight. Thanks for your time.
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. You know, the way these public comments are set up, you know, people disparage you or make remarks about you after you've spoken. You don't have a chance to defend yourself. So a lot of these remarks go back to our previous meeting when Barbara Simmons and her significant other, Steve Nolan, were up here and basically calling me naive. I didn't know what I was talking about because I brought up the Nazis and how they brainwashed their whole country, and I was talking about how Dr. Gibson program was brainwashing our kids and how we were going to deprogram them. And he took everything I said out of context and turned it around and made it convoluted. So I'm going to sort of set the record straight here. These people that are coming in from Newtown are not Pennsbury School District people. They're on the non-resident list. What they say here, I don't understand why they're even coming here and making comments, okay? Barbara Simmons says she's on the chair of the NAACP, which I found out the other day. Ms. Delwich is on that board. Her husband, who has a different last name, Michael Selleck, he's on that board, okay? So I'm always wondering why every time I criticize or there's something that's going to happen with Mrs. Gibson, why the NAACP only shows up here. It's not a mystery anymore, is it? Okay, I find it disturbing that everybody has to be sneaky, lying. You know, a lot of people up here, Donna, she doesn't share her husband's last name, so all these people come up here and speak against us as Republicans, and you don't even know that they're married to the people up here on the board. And Mrs. Steer, you're also one of them. Your husband's last name is different than yours, and people come up to this microphone, say their name, and the people in the audience and the people at home don't know that these people are your significant other, okay? I don't think it's right. They've done it for a long time since I've been coming to these meetings, and I don't agree with it. I think it's disgusting. Now, listening to some of Barbara Simmons' comments, and I've listened to some of her radio podcasts, she's an apologist for the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings of World War II, okay? She was part of a group called Bucks Association for Nuclear Disarmament, okay? if we did not drop that bomb, because Mr. Nolan's made it sound like I don't know my history, if we didn't drop those bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the military estimated that we would have lost another 500,000 to 1 million troops killed. Now, I think we lost enough troops. I lost relatives in that war. My grandfather lost 2 of his brothers. I had other relatives come back from the Battle of the Bulge. They were in the European theater, and they were in the Pacific theater, okay? She's sitting back here, the 21st century Jane Fonda, and spewing this garbage, okay? These people sit on their high horse and look down at us like we're somehow stupid or below them, and they're going to ride in here from Newtown and get us all straightened out. But they always come every time Sharissa's contract's up or something I said about Sharissa. The cavalry comes in from the other side and, you know, basically demeans us and makes us sound like we're a bunch of idiots. And I'm just want everybody to know what's going on, okay? And she's apologizing to people and having people come over from Japan, from Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and presenting them with a peace pole. What a joke. Unbelievable people. I mean, just, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, you know, the assistant treasurer to the NAACP of Bucks County is Mike Selleck, Janine Delwich's husband, okay? Assistant secretary, Janine Delwich. Executive committee, Barbara Simmons and Nastasha Raisley. Now, Nastasha's been up here multiple times defending Mrs. Gibson. Without her pre-written speeches by whoever's up on this board that's writing them for her, she can barely give us a speech off the top of her head. You don't see me reading off of papers. I check to make sure I'm reading off the list. This woman cannot give a full speech, but one of you guys is writing them for her. But now that I know that at least 3 of you up here, and maybe more, are on the board of the NAACP, it all starts to make sense to me. So I'm going to sort of draw back the curtains on all of you people and let the people see what you're really about. Thank you. And by the way, I'm going to be running for the board, and I'm going to be going for that seat. Andrew Dell, Falls Township. First off, when we start out these meetings and you start with the minute of relaxation and yoga stuff, I don't like it. I don't know if everybody else here likes it. You could start it out with a prayer instead of the yoga stuff, so just a thought. Second off, I know I touched on this last meeting. Why are the kids having to walk the pathway between these schools when those schools are more than capable of housing 7th and 8th grade, 9th and 10th grade over at West, and then East, 11th and 12th grade when I was in school? I think you open these kids up to dangerous, possibly dangerous situation by having them have to travel back and forth between the schools. If someone was to drive a truck or a car down that lot while these kids are going out to school, they can mow down dozens of them. And I still don't understand why you have to get these kids and they have to walk across the frozen tundra to the other school or in the dead of summer in the heat. I don't think there's a reason for it, and maybe someone could explain to me how that actually happened. I know it's been going on for a while, but I feel that it's pretty much pointless. Next thing I want to touch on is the DEI. I think it was President Obama said elections have consequences. Well, here's one of the consequences. I told you it was coming, and here it is. And I don't want to see that you guys are squirreling around this DEI by renaming it or keeping the program without keeping the title of the name. It will get rooted out, and people will pay the consequences for that. Having said that, your hiring practices here with Dr. Gibson as a human resources person now instead of our head of our DEI program, you can't unthink the programs that she's been pushing. You can't just turn that off. So I don't think it's right to have people on that board that were in the position that she was in, or anyone that was in that position, because they're going to have a skewed point of view. And valid candidates that are capable for that position might be overlooked because they didn't drink the Kool-Aid that she's trying to push on them. So I think you should really rethink your hiring practices and make it more merit-based and not, hey, do you agree with equity questions. Keeping our kids safe, you touched on, Tom. with the internet and with everyone's getting a phone. And you guys are going down all these rabbit holes, and I know you got to keep the kids safe, but you guys hired a band director that you should be handing out that poster to the parents to keep their kids away from that guy. You don't ever really know who is working here, who lives next door to you. You'll really never know until something like that rears its ugly head. But your job should be focused more on teaching these kids instead of trying to change their ideology to your ideology. Because you may enjoy it, I don't enjoy it, I don't like listening to it, I don't like hearing it. But that's my opinion. And to me, your non-diverse board of no Republicans up here hopefully will change this coming election when I run. And I just have to say that I'm disappointed in the grades of these kids. Even prior to COVID, you guys have so many sidetrack programs that these kids, I don't even know how they can learn. I think you should get back to the basics, and I think you should focus on just teaching these kids. And even without DEI program, like the young lady that was just up here, I don't think her child will be mistreated. I think you people will take very good care of these kids, whether there's a program called DEI or not. When I went to school and there was special needs kids, they were well taken care of. And they weren't abused, they weren't made fun of. They were looked after before DEI became a thing. And I don't think she has anything to worry about, because I think in this day and age, people go out of their way to look after people that have a different need than they do. So thank you for your time. Andrew Dell, Falls Township. I was curious what Pennsbury is currently doing to police the non-resident students from across the river or out of our district that are currently attending this school, have been probably for years, and maybe new students that don't belong here now. I know there's a hotline apparently to call, but I would like to have a number of how many people you've actually found that are in this district inappropriately. And when you do find the people that are here that aren't supposed to be here, is there a way to claw back any money? Say a student is here for 5 years and you find out, hey, they're not supposed to be here. Who's financially responsible for that? Because a lot of our resources, I believe, because you can't see this many New Jersey tags pulling up to pick up the kids. Maybe if they just moved here from New Jersey, but when you constantly see Jersey tags, people dropping their kids off at bus stops, coming from different places, you start to wonder how many kids are in this district that really aren't supposed to be here. So what I'd like to know is how many have we caught? How are you proceeding forward with finding who these people are? And maybe you could possibly incentivize students, parents to let you know and save us substantial amounts of money and allow us to spend the resources on the kids and the families that are actually paying their taxes in this district. So, and I don't know the legal ramifications for someone who lied on an application to get in here. And if they've been here, like I said, for years, I understand the cost per student is roughly between $20,000 and $25,000 a year budgeted for each student. I could be off on that number, but that's a number that was provided to me. But if that's what it's costing, and you have 50 or 60 of these kids in here that aren't supposed to be in here, they're using up our resources, and resources could be spent on the kids that are supposed to be here. And second item is this new high school. I've heard through the grapevine that they're doing drilling to find out depths and piers and water tables and all this, and I understand they're coming back with some pretty bad readings. Possible wetlands, don't know, don't have 100% accuracy on the information, so I can't say for sure. But if that is the case, where would this said proposed school that will cost more than, there's no way you guys are going to stand a referendum. If you do, by chance, get under referendum with this new school, it's going to be change order central, like most of the other projects that go on here. So adding to that is the contracts that you do get from these contracts to say this school does get built. Is there a way to lock them in? so they can't change the price. And they can't say, oh, well, we found this and we found that. They should all be professionals, and unless it's an act of God or something they find and they have to build around something. But I just want to know how all these projects, and it's not just you guys, it's Falls Township, it's Pennsbury, the price is never the price. The original price is never the price. It's usually some multiple of the price. 1.3 times, 1.5 times. It's never what you guys say it's going to be. That's got to come to a stop. And if we find that these kids that aren't supposed to be here, we get extra money, there's many programs that I know you're probably short on funding on that you could possibly fund by getting rid of the people that are not supposed to be here. So thank you for your time. Before I begin, I wanted to ask the solicitor if I should announce that I'm a candidate or I'm just speaking as Andrew Dell. I don't want to cross any policy lines. I know there's some issue with that.
Policy 903 doesn't prohibit people from making speeches that are political in nature. You're fine to identify yourself either way.
Okay, thank you. Andrew Dell, running for school board. First, I'd like to state the fact that for the last, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 meetings, all questions I've asked, none of them have been answered. You guys have been ignoring. I don't understand. We take the time out of our lives to come here and ask questions, and you choose which questions you want to answer. You don't have to answer impromptu. You can decide whether you're going to answer me or not. You have time to think about your answer. I think this has to change in the future. I think if I ask Mr. Smith or Chip Taylor or anybody a direct question, I should, since it's my 5 minutes and they're going to be using part of my 5 minutes, I think there should be allowed to have conversation back and forth. Not time for you to conjure up some story or some magic numbers at some later date. I think those rules should change somewhere in the future. I don't like it. I've been waiting for answers on many things. Like I said, go back 6 months. You guys close the meeting down, don't answer any of the questions. Regardless of whether they're detrimental or positive for you, it just doesn't seem to matter. You don't answer anybody. So I'd like that to change. Secondly, as I'm running, and my opponent Jim, who I've never had anything bad to say about, but I find it amazing that the Democrat Club of Falls Township, or the people associated with it, how nasty and disgusting the personal attacks are getting. Someone trolled into my Facebook and pulled a picture out that was a joke back in the 2020 Trump election with me holding a firearm. I didn't post that, but someone posted it and have been making derogatory comments about me, whether it's physical attributes or appearance or just vile, disgusting comments. And, I try not to respond to all of them because you got to look at the slobs that are making them. But I don't want to, I try not to put anyone down, but I have been fighting. And, people say, well, you can't talk that way to the voters. These people are just out to hurt me. They're not looking. I give them my phone number. I say, hey, give me a call. I'll talk to you about whatever you want. Whether they're Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. I'll take the time out. I'll meet with you, or you can call me on the phone. They say, I don't want to talk to you. I don't care what you have to say. They're just there to slander and to cut you down to size. And that's the problem with this country and with even this community. It goes deep all the way across the board. You stop good people from wanting to run for any seat. And people are accusing me I'm doing this for money. Money? I mean, none of you people get paid up here. You're taking the time out of your lives to try to help the students and help this school. And that's the whole point to run for the seat. There is no power involved, and there is no money involved. Some people may use it as a stepping stone for their political career, but not everybody is looking for a political career. Some people just want to give back to the community. And, I've talked to Tom at length how I didn't enjoy going to school. I knew I wasn't going to college, and I was running some ideas past him about how, since the technical school is filled up, and he was explaining to me how they do have separate things that they're teaching the kids at the school that can't get into the tech school. And we're having a pretty good conversation about that. These are the things I want to try to do. I don't want to be a disruptor. But going back to the nastiness, these people are just horrible people. And I have nothing else to say about them, but again, it stops people, good people, because there's a lot of good people out there who would be great on this board, on all boards, in all elected positions, but no one wants to put themselves out there because of the criticisms and the nasty comments about your friends or your family, or there's nowhere they won't go. So I would like you guys to start answering some of the questions. The other statements have been made, since I seem to pick on Miss Gibson all the time, which I don't plan on doing today, not because I don't want to, it's just I'm running out of time. I have nothing against Mrs. Gibson. I just don't like her policy. As a person, I don't know her. She never has talked to me. I never get a response from her, and I don't think I ever will until I'm on this board. And when I'm on this board, she's going to have to talk to me, and she's not going to have a choice. So thank you for your time.